What's up, my friends, and welcome back to the Influence Exchange. Before we get into today's episode, I want to say thank you. Thank you for pressing play, thank you for watching on YouTube, and thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every platform where this show shows up. I truly don't take your time lightly. I'm your host, JV, and today we're talking about something that affects almost everyone, but most people don't know how to explain it. Have you ever felt like people kept doing things that bother you, and you're sitting there thinking, why do they keep talking to me like that? Or why do they keep crossing the line? Or why do I feel taken for granted? Or why do I always feel like I'm the one adjusting? If that's you, this episode is for you. Because today's episode is called The Respect Reset: Why People Treat You Based on What You Tolerate. And let me be clear right away. This is not about being rude. This is not about arguing. And this is not about turning cold or cutting everyone off. This is about standards. Because here's the truth: a lot of disrespect doesn't show up at yelling or obvious insults. It shows up quietly, and it shows up as people constantly being late to you, people interrupting you, people making jokes that don't feel good, people expecting you to always be available, people pushing your boundaries and acting like it's normal. And sometimes the reason it keeps happening is simple. People learn what they can do based on what you allow. So in this episode, we're going to break this down in a way that's real, simple, and practical. Here is what I'm going to cover today: how people learn what's acceptable around you, the difference between being kind and being easy to violate, real life situations that slowly drain your respect, and last, what to say in the moment without starting drama. And listen, if you've been feeling disrespected, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not crazy, you're not too sensitive, and you don't need to become a different person. You just need to stop tolerating things that slowly teach people my time doesn't matter. My voice doesn't matter. My boundaries doesn't matter. And if you want to take part in this podcast beyond listening, I love that. If you have a story you want to share, or you want to come on this show for a real conversation, you can reach me directly by sending me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at The Influence Exchange, or use the fan mail link in the episode descriptions. All right, take a breath, stay with me, because this episode isn't just about respect from other people. It's about the respect you start giving yourself. Now let's get into it. All right, my friends, let's lay the foundation, because if you miss this part, the rest of the episode won't land. Here's the truth. Respect is not something you beg for. Respect is something you train. And I don't mean train like you're controlling people. What I mean, people learn what's acceptable with you based on what you constantly allow. Now listen to this clearly and carefully. People learn your standard from your pattern. Most people don't wake up thinking, how can I disrespect you today? It happens slowly. You let a comment slide once. You ignore a boundary one more time. You laugh something off that actually bothered you. You say it's fine when it wasn't. And over time, your silence becomes a message. Not because you're weak, not because you're scared, but because you're trying to keep peace. And that's where this gets real. Peace without boundaries becomes pressure. You stay calm on the outside, but you built resentment on the inside. Respect starts with what you tolerate. Let me say this clearly. What you tolerate teaches people what to repeat. If people constantly shows up late and you keep adjusting your schedule, they learn your time is flexible. If someone jokes at your expense and keeps smiling, they learn your self-respect is negotiable. If someone only calls you when they need something and you keep answering, they learn access to you is unlimited. And listen, none of this makes you a bad person. It just means you've been prioritizing being easy to deal with over being respected. There's a difference between being kind and being available for disrespect. A lot of you listening are good people. You're patient, you're understanding, you give chances, you don't want conflict, but being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Kindness is how you treat people. Standards are how you protect yourself. You can be calm and still be firm. You can be respected and still say, not with me. The real reason respect breaks down, this part is important. Respect breaks down when your words and your actions don't match. You might say things like, don't talk to me like that, but then you stay. Or, I don't like that, but then you laugh. Or, I need you to take me seriously, but then you keep tolerating the same behavior. People believe what you enforce, not what you announce. Here is an easy example how this looks like in real life. Let's make it super simple. Imagine someone cuts you off in a conversation every time you speak. At first, you might think they are just excited. Then it keeps happening. Now you start feeling I'm not being heard. And if you never address it, the pattern becomes normal. But if you calmly say, hold on, let me finish what I'm saying. And by saying that, you just did two things. Number one, you protected your voice. Number two, you taught them how to treat you in a conversation. That's how respect is built, not through a speech, but through a moment. A quick reality check for you, the listener. Let me talk directly to you for a second. If you feel disrespected in your life right now, ask yourself this. Where have I been staying silent to avoid discomfort? Where have I been tolerating things because I don't want to make it a thing? Where have I been accepting less than I would want for someone I love? Because that's the starting point. Not with anger, not with revenge, and not trying to prove something. The starting point is awareness. Here is the shift I want you to make. Stop asking, why don't they respect me? And start asking, what have I been allowing that's teaching them I accept this? The question isn't meant to shame you. It's meant to empower you. Because if respect is learned, it can be relearned. And in the next topic, with deep research, we're going to talk about how to communicate that standard without being aggressive, without being rude, and without turning into someone you're not. But right now, take this with you. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. You don't need to be mean. You need to be consistent. All right, my friends, now we're getting into the part most people struggle with. Because you might agree with everything from topic one, but then you think, okay, but how do I say something without sounding mean? How do I set a boundary without starting a problem? How do I protect myself without changing who I am? Here's the important key. Boundaries are not attitude. Boundaries are clarity. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to embrace anyone. You're simply communicating what works for you and what doesn't. First, understand what a boundary really is. A boundary is not a threat. A boundary is not do this or else. A real boundary is this is what I'm available for, and this is what I'm not available for. Think of it like a fence. A fence doesn't attack people, it simply tells them where the line is. A lot of problems happen because people never knew where your line was, because you never said it out loud to anyone. Second, the biggest mistake people make, over explaining. This is where most people lose respect. They just set a boundary, but then they explain it for 5 minutes. And the more you explain, the more it sounds negotiable. Here's a truth that will help you. Short and calm is stronger than long and emotional. So instead of a long speech, try a clear, direct sentence. Third, use this simple formula. It's easy and repeatable. Here's a boundary formula that you can use anywhere. Here is a sentence I want you to fill in the blanks. And if you're watching on YouTube, read the captions. The sentence is, when you blank, I feel blank. Moving forward, I need blank. Here are some examples. When you raise your voice, I shut down. Moving forward, I need us to talk calmly. When plans change last minute, it throws off my day. Moving forward, I need more notice. When jokes are made about me in front of people, it doesn't sit right. Moving forward, don't do that. That's not rude, that's clear. Some of you may feel this is easier said than done, but trust me, I've been in these situations many times and I've learned firsthand how to apply this in my own life. Fourth, keep your tone calm. Even if your heart is pounding, let's be real. Setting boundaries can feel scary. Your mind might be racing, thinking, what if they get mad? What if they think I'm being dramatic? What if they pull away? But here's the thing, a boundary doesn't require confidence. It builds confidence. You don't need to sound tough. You just need to sound steady with a calm voice. Simple words, no extra explaining. Because people respect stability. 5. You don't need to debate your boundary. This is important. Some people will respond with, you're too sensitive, I was just joking, that's not what I meant, you're overreacting, and you might feel the urge to defend yourself, but you don't have to defend your boundary. You can repeat it calmly. Let me give you a few examples. I understand you didn't mean it that way. I'm still not okay with it. I hear you. I'm still asking you not to do that. We can disagree, but this is what I need. Repeat it without anger. Respect is earned through consistency. 6. Boundaries without consequences are just requests. Now let's talk about the part people avoid. If you set a boundary and nothing changes, that boundary becomes background noise. So you need a follow-through plan, nothing dramatic, just clear. Let me give you a few examples. If the yelling starts, I'm going to step away and we could talk later. If you're late again, I'm going to start without you. If you keep speaking to me that way, I'm ending the conversation. That's not punishment, that's protection. 7. A quick check-in for you, the listener. Let me speak to you directly. If you're someone who hates confrontation, try this mindset shift. You're not starting drama, you're stopping damage. You're not being rude, you're being responsible with your emotional space. And the right people in your life will adjust. The wrong people will get uncomfortable, and that discomfort is information to you. I will close this topic with a simple challenge. Here's your practical move for this week. Pick one area where you've been quietly tolerating too much. Then practice one sentence, not a paragraph, not a speech, just one sentence, because the more consistently you reinforce boundaries is the small moments, the less likely you are to force major blow-ups later. And in the next topic, we're going to talk about what happens when people test your boundaries, because they absolutely will, and how to stay firm without turning cold. Stay with me and let's keep going. Alright, my friends, this is where it gets real, because once you start setting boundaries, here's what usually happens. People test them, not always because they are bad people, sometimes it's just because they're used to the old version of you. They're used to you always saying yes, always answering, always smoothing things over, always staying quiet. So when you change, it disrupts the pattern. And listen closely. The first time you set a boundary is rarely the hardest part. The hardest part is holding it the second and the third time. Ask yourself this question. Why do people test boundaries? Here are the most common reasons. They have grown assumptions to having full access because you've always been available. They don't like change, it makes them uncomfortable. They benefit from your lack of boundaries, they get what they want. And the last one is they don't take you seriously yet because the old you didn't follow through. And that last one is important. A boundary isn't proven by what you say, it's proven by what you do next. Here are the 3 ways people will test you. Let me make it simple and real. Test number 1. They act like they didn't hear you. You set a boundary and then they do the same thing again. This is common, and this is where most people fold. What to do? Don't explode. Don't give a speech. Don't act shocked. Just repeat the boundary calmly. A few examples. Hey, I'm available for that today. Just reminding you, I'm not doing last minute changes anymore. I'm not continuing this conversation if we're raising our voices. Repeat it like it's normal, because it is normal. Test number 2. They joke about it. They laugh, they tease, they try to make you feel silly for having a boundary. A few examples. Oh, here we go again, Mr. or Mrs. Boundaries. Someone's acting brand new. You're just being dramatic. What to do? Don't argue, don't defend, don't get sarcastic. Maybe say something simple. I'm serious. I'm not joking about that. Yeah, I'm changing that. Short, calm, done. Test number 3. They guilt you. This one is the most effective on good people. They will say something like this. Whoa, you never used to be like this. So I guess you don't care anymore. I needed you. After everything I've done, that guilt can hit hard. But here's the truth. Guilt is not a reason to break your boundary. It's often proof that the boundary is necessary. Try this. Acknowledge their feeling, then hold your line and maybe say, I hear you. and I'm still not available. I understand you're upset. This is still my decision. I care about you, and this is what I need. And here's a personal note for me so you know you're not alone. Let me share something personal. There was a time in my life where I thought being a good person meant being available all the time. So I would do things such as answer every phone call, handle every problem, carry everyone's stress, keep the peace even when it cost me my own peace. And I told myself I was being mature, but what I didn't realize was I wasn't being mature, I was being afraid. Afraid of conflict, afraid of being seen as different. And it hit me one day. I was showing up for everybody, but I was burning out privately. That's when I learned if you don't protect your energy, your life will spend it for you. And that's when I started setting boundaries. People reacted. Some people respected it immediately. Some got uncomfortable. Some tested me. Some disappeared. I want you to hear this. Not everyone is going to like the healthier version of you because the healthier version of you can't be used the same way. But the right people adjust and the wrong people expose themselves. That's not loss, that's clarity. The easiest way to hold the line, here's the simple rule. Don't match their emotion, match your standard. If they get loud, you stay calm. If they get dramatic, you stay clear. If they push, you repeat your boundary. Because boundaries don't need attention, they need consistency. Now, this is the balance right here. Because some people hear boundaries and think it means being cold. Something like you stop caring, you stop being kind, you become distant, you cut everyone off. That's not the goal. The goal is not to build walls. The goal is to build healthy doors. Then you decide who gets access, when they get access, and how they treat you when they are there. Whoa, this is real. I'm feeling the heat from this conversation. Oh man, if you are watching on YouTube, my forehead is sweating. But you know what? We have to continue. Let's move on. The respect and warmth method. Here's the method. You can be warm and still be firm. You can be kind and still say no. You can be loving and still have limits. That's emotional maturity. Let me give you a few examples. Instead of stop bothering me, you should say, I can't talk right now, but we can talk later. Instead of you're always dumping your problems on me, you should say, I care about you, but I don't have the capacity for this conversation tonight. Last one. Instead of don't talk to me like that, you should say, I'm open to talking, but not in that tone. That's firm, that's respectful, that's clear. Now, use the two-sentence boundary. This is a practical tool you can use immediately. Sentence 1. Confirm intent so they understand it isn't personal. Sentence 2. Set the limit so they understand the answer is still no. Let me give you 4 examples you can use. I care about you. I'm still not available for that. I hear you. I'm not changing my decision. I respect you. I'm not tolerating that behavior. I love you. I'm stepping away until we can talk calmly. 2 sentences, that's it. Now listen to this. Your boundary doesn't require their agreement. This is a big one. Some people won't agree with your boundary. They may say, that's stupid, that's selfish, that's not necessary, but boundaries are not a group project. You don't need their approval to protect your peace. You need your own commitment. the takeaway, and I will keep it simple. Here's what I want you to remember. Boundaries are not disrespect. Boundaries are direction. Boundaries are the proof that you value yourself. And you don't have to become a new person overnight. Start small. Start with one sentence, one moment, one clear and simple no, one follow through. Because every boundary you hold teaches people how to treat you. And most importantly, it teaches you that your word matters. And that's where the confidence comes from. Because every boundary you hold teaches people how to treat you. And most importantly, it teaches you that your word matters. And that's where the confidence comes from. All right, my friends, before we close, I want to leave you with something simple and real. If you've been listening today and thinking, yeah, I need this, I want you to know this. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you're becoming cold. It means you're becoming clear. It's choosing peace over pressure, protecting what matters, and learning how to show up without losing yourself. Because boundaries aren't punishment, they aren't disrespectful, they aren't you being difficult, they're a direction. They're you saying, this is what I can do, this is what I won't do, this is what I need, this is how I'm going to live. And I want you to hit this part clearly. You don't need to be perfect to start setting boundaries. You just need to be honest. Now let me be personal for a second. I'm still learning this. I've made a lot of mistakes. I said yes when I should have said no. I let things go too long. I've avoided hard conversations. I've tried to keep everyone happy and ended up carrying stress I don't need to carry. And I'm telling you that because I'm not speaking from a perfect person point of view. I'm speaking as someone still working on it, still growing, still building certain habits. And honestly, this podcast is part of that for me. This is my therapy in a way. It's me processing out loud. It's me turning lessons into language. It's me trying to become better right in front of you. So if you're listening and you've been struggling with boundaries, I don't want you to feel guilty. I don't want you to feel behind. I want you to feel encouraged because even small changes counts. This week, I want you to practice one thing. Say one clear no without over-explaining. Hold one line without getting loud. Repeat one boundary calmly when it gets tested. That's it. Because every time you follow through, you build self-trust, and self-trust changes everything. And before I go, I want to say this from the heart. Thank you. Thank you for pressing play. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else this show reaches you. I don't take your time lightly. This show exists because you show up, and I'm grateful you're here. If this episode helped you, send it to someone who needs it. And if you want to share your story, or if you want to be a guest on this show, send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at The Influence Exchange, or click the fan mail links in the episode description. Subscribe, leave a review, and remember, your influence grows every time you choose courage over comfort. I'm JV. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep influencing others.